doing, everybody? My name is Jaden. I'm currently converting this 40-foot school bus that I'm in into my full-time off-grid tiny home on wheels, and I'm documenting the entire thing here on this YouTube channel. So if you like that kind of thing, make sure to hit subscribe to keep up with all the progress I'm making on the bus from the very beginning to the very end, and eventually getting to live in this thing full-time. The last video, if you haven't checked that out, I built these really awesome custom cabinets, as well as this sweet butcher block countertop. All in, expense-wise, I spent about $250 on materials for the cabinets and about $350 on the butcher block. So all in total, about $600 for this honestly amazing kitchen space, and I'm so excited to get more going on this. The next big thing I'm going to do with the kitchen area is add a kitchen sink, but in the meantime, before I do that, I've been doing my plumbing. So I've actually got my entire plumbing system minus the fixtures complete. Now in this video, we're going to go over that plumbing system that's eventually going to be leading to my sink and other fixtures. I'm basically going to walk you through the entire system as it is right now, kind of show you what it does, how it works, why I made it the way I did, show you some specialty fittings that helps the system work the way it does, and then at the end of the video, if you stick around, you'll be able to see me actually show you guys how water is pumped through the system, both with my pump and with city water pressure. So to preface, before I get into the back of the bus and show you the whole plumbing system, I wanted my system to do two things. The first thing was, obviously, I wanted to be able to fill a tank and pump water out of it. So there's a way that I fill my tank. It's a 100-gallon freshwater tank that I'll show you in a second. And then water is pumped from that tank to where my various fixtures will be, that being my sink, my shower, and my washer dryer combo unit. The second thing I wanted it to be able to do was actually be able to bypass the entire tank and pump system in general. If I'm somewhere like a campground, buddy's house, anywhere with water hookups that just has water pressure built in, I want to be able to not have to worry about filling my tank and then pumping water from that tank and then refilling the tank again. I just want to be able to basically bypass the whole pump system, tank system in general, and just use the city water pressure to feed water to my various fixtures. So it sounds a little bit complicated, but it's really not. It's honestly far simpler than I really anticipated. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say this is the absolute best system in the world, but it is 100% functional and it is extremely easy to do. So if you want a really simple to understand, easy to install, and very effective system to get water throughout your bus, this is the video for you. So let's go in the back and check out the system. All right, so first things first is the water fill. This is where the water will go into the bus, and it's just a pretty simple, sleek design, little latching water inlet fill. I had to do quite a bit of kind of readjusting, remodeling of this particular inlet, but basically it's just a plastic inlet. I inserted a hose receiver here, so like a garden hose receiver. It's a 3/4 to 1/2 inch hose receiver, and on the other end of that, I'll show you here in a second, is a 1/2 inch PEX adapter, a female PEX adapter. So those are just screwed together with some Teflon tape, about as tight as I could get it, with some channel locks, and it kind of just sits within here and can't go out either way. What I'll have to do here is I'll have to get some like spray foam or something to hold it straight in place, because it does tend to pull down right now, so it's a little bit hard to get a hose on there, but that's coming at a later date. A couple things about this particular water fill that I'm a fan of, and then I'm also not a fan of. One bad thing about this particular water inlet is that it doesn't come with a threaded fitting, which is, I guess, kind of common with the plastic ones that you get. So if you're wanting one with a pre-made fitting, maybe go with a metal one. I had to obviously insert a threaded fitting myself so I could actually thread a hose on. But the other thing I don't really like about this particular one is the way it came with like a really weird sized PVC inlet. It was like a PVC elbow on the inside of it. I'll show you like a clip here that I have going over it. But the thing about that was it's not a standard size PVC for whatever reason. It's like between sizes that you can get from a big box store. So no piece of PVC that I got fit it. So I tried some weird things to fit on it. Like I tried some like vinyl tubing and, weird PVC connections to drop down to a 1/2 inch PVC adapter for PEX, and all these weird things that didn't end up working. So I ended up cutting basically the entire inside piece of that inlet off so that I could insert that hose adapter to that 1/2 inch PVC adapter and just kind of make it a standard straight inlet. So I honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this inlet. I'll put a description in the video in case any of you want to go get it, but I honestly wouldn't really recommend it. One nice thing about this one is it does lock, which I'm still having to figure out with having to fit that new fitting in there, making the lock fit, but it does have a lock on it. So that's one thing that I would definitely recommend anybody looking into getting an inlet to install themselves kind of look into, is something that locks. A lot of weird people out there these days. Definitely want to make sure that no one's able to tamper with your water inlet, especially if you're going to be drinking that water or having any pets drink it. Definitely better safe than sorry there. So probably best to find one that locks like this one does, but again, don't necessarily recommend this one. All right, excuse the mess, wasn't really expecting visitors, but we'll start with the water inlet and tank fill. So as you can see, the water does come in here, and I just showed you guys the water inlet on the outside. Basically from that kind of sandwich of fittings, I have that hose adapter on the outside and that female 1/2-inch push to connect PEX adapter on the inside, and that leads directly to this PEX pipe that then comes to this elbow and down to this valve. Now I'll go more over this valve here in just a few minutes, but this valve right here is kind of the key to how the entire system works as it does. So definitely going to want to pay attention for an explanation on that valve if you're not already familiar. So basically, first things first, the water comes through this PEX right here and hits this elbow and then travels down to this valve. Now this is a 3-way valve. I've also heard it called an L valve before. But basically what it does is it allows you to change the position of this handle, and depending on the direction of the handle, water either flows straight down through the valve or it L's out and comes this direction. So right now, in the position that it is right now, it would come down here, it would stop, and then it would go through this PEX right here. If I flip it up like that, water would flow straight down through and this side would be closed. So let's start with this right here. So if I have it in this position, so this is the position for the tank fill. So as you can see, I have it in this position right here. That means water is going to flow straight down through the valve. It's going to hit this elbow. It's going to go down this PEX, and then at the very bottom corner there, that's the water inlet for the tank. Now the tank came with 3 threaded 1/2-inch female fittings. So I just got some 1/2-inch male threaded fittings to screw in there with some Teflon tape, and obviously they're push to connect. I used push to connect connectors for everything in this system. You can say what you want about push connect if you're not a fan, whatever. They're rated just the same as any other fitting if you're doing compression fittings or whatever. These, though they are a little bit more expensive, or quite a bit more expensive than other fittings, they are so beyond easy to use. The entire system that I'll show you here, I put together in probably a combined like 20 or 30 minutes. Like, it was just beyond easy. So let's stay on the topic of tank fill. So basically, right now we're on a 100-gallon freshwater tank. I'll show you a wider shot here in a second. This is a tank from recpro.com. It's a freshwater tank from recpro.com. I'll put a link to it in the description. It's actually the same brand and same company, same kind of tank as my gray water tank, which if you haven't seen the video on how I mounted my gray water tank on the outside of the bus, feel free to check out that video right here. It's a pretty good one, but it's the same kind of tank. So it comes with 3 inlets, basically. Inlets or outlets that are threaded, and then this one right here is a non-threaded 7/8-inch interior diameter, basically a vent. That's what I'm using it for, at least. I'm not using it as an inlet as it was kind of intended to be, since I wanted to be able to have like pressurized water go into the tank. I'm using that as a vent to let out air, which you do need. If you want to fill your tank with water, you're going to need a way for air to escape. So make sure to account for that if you're doing a tank fill, and make sure there's a way for air to escape. That's what that fitting is for. Ultimately, I'm going to have like a piece of tubing here to kind of act as a overfill protectant as well as a vent, but that's down the road. Don't need that quite yet. So from the tank, water is then pumped out from my pump system, which I'll get to in a second. It's pumped out from the bottom corner. It's the same kind of fitting as I have for the inlet. It's just an outlet in this case, and water travels up this PEX into kind of this 3-stage pump system. All right, so the first thing that the water hits is this mesh strainer. There's really nothing fancy about this. This is just basically a sediment filter, so water coming in, if it has any like, you know, rocks, dirt, dust, any debris or anything like that that's, you know, big enough to be caught by this mesh, it's gonna get caught here and then it flows on down the line. After the strainer, it hits the water pump. Now, this water pump is a 3 gallon per minute, 45 PSI, 12 volt pump from Seaflow. And honestly, 3 gallons per minute, 45 PSI should be more than enough for basically any van conversion, school bus conversion, anything like that. Unless you have like a really high power shower head, you're probably not gonna need more than 1.5 gallons or 2 gallon per minute on your flow rate. But that being said, if you do have a high pressure shower head, probably go with, you know, something that's a little bit beefier than this, maybe like a 5 gallon per minute pump. One thing to say about that is, you know, the bigger the pump, typically the louder it gets, so keep that in mind. But I feel like usually school bus conversions, van conversions, anything like that, we're trying to conserve resources, water being one of those resources. So if you have a high power shower head that uses a lot of water per minute, I mean, to each their own, but for me, I'm going to be using a misting shower head that's going to use about 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons per minute. So 3 gallons per minute on all my water flow is going to be more than enough. And it's not very loud. Like I said, at the end of this video, I'll show you guys how the water flows both with the pump and with city water pressure. So stay tuned for that, but you'll get to see how loud this is. And then the third thing the water hits is this accumulator tank, also from Seaflow. It's a 3/4 liter accumulator tank. And honestly, I don't really know if this is fully necessary or not. It's supposed to smooth the flow of water and reduce pump cycling from your pump. So theoretically, it's supposed to, you know, keep water flow at a steady rate and preserve the lifetime of the pump. Couldn't really tell you if it makes a difference or not that's noticeable, but I see a lot of systems with these, so I went ahead and got it. I don't think it's very expensive. I can't remember exactly, but I don't think it was more than like 70 bucks. I'll put a link to everything I got into the description of the video. If you want to shop these items, feel free. They're in the link in the description. No affiliation. These are just, you know, what I got, and they work pretty well. And then from the accumulator tank, it's onto the rest of the system. So it travels through here, down this line. This line goes all the way through the bathroom here, and it pokes out in that hole right there. And what does that hole lead to, you might ask? Ooh, a very pretty kitchen. But beyond the kitchen, or under it, I guess, is my water heater. So here's the water heater. I'm gonna test this at a later date because I don't have a propane source yet, but it is a propane fueled water heater. But basically, that cold line comes to this T, and to the left of your screen, it goes to this valve and then to the inlet on my water heater. The reason I have a valve here is so that if I need to shut off water to the heater to be able to service the heater, I can do so pretty easily. I don't need a valve on the hot water line because if I just shut this valve off and then run the hot water for a few seconds, it'll flush all the hot water out of the tank or out of the heater, and I'll be able to service it, no problem. And then on the other end of the T, it comes up, goes over this direction, and then it pokes out in the back right here. Sorry, I have all my PEX in the way, but basically this is where my sink is going to be, as I mentioned before. So I have my hot and cold lines already poked through the bottom corner there. See if I can get you a view without taking it out right there. So yeah, that's where the sink will be, and that's where water will come out. So when I show you guys the test, I'll have to put a bucket in here or something, but this line right here is where the water is going to come out. And that's basically how it works, but there's one more thing I want to show you, and that's how the city water fill works. So like I said, let's say I'm, you know, parked at a campground. It has water hookups with water pressure, and I don't want to have to worry about constantly filling my tank and then pumping water out of the tank and then refilling the tank and, you know, repeating the process every time I want water. I just want to be able to bypass the tank, have the city water pressurize my system and send water flowing throughout my system. So that is why I got this special little 3-way valve right here. So In the position it is in right now, like I mentioned before, it's going to fill the tank, but if I flip it down like this, the bottom of the valve is closed, but the side is open. So when I have, city water hooked up here and I want to bypass the tank, I flip this down, water flows through this line right here, bypasses the entire pump system because it doesn't need it, and then it tees in to the rest of the system right here and continues on down. Really, really simple. But I will say one other special thing that I had to do to make sure there was no backfill if I had, city water coming and it wanted to somehow backfill into, my pump system in the wrong way, or if I had water pumping here and it wanted to, tee off and fill my city water fill line in the wrong direction. Didn't want that to happen. So these two valves are actually check valves. And what these allow, you can see a little arrow right there pointing this direction. What these allow for is flow of water in one direction, but not in the other direction. So water can pass through here, but like, oh, look, a T. Water's gonna wanna go down here, but oops, another check valve. So water has to stop, fill up this area. It can't go there, so it has to go down here. And same for the city fill. If I'm filling city water, comes to here, hits this T, wants to backfill into my pump system, there's a check valve there, so it has to stop and continue flowing on down. Hopefully that makes sense. It's honestly so beyond simple. This was a cakewalk, especially compared to doing something like the electrical system. This was like a walk in the park. Like, I swear a 5-year-old could figure this out and put it together, no problem. Especially with the push to connect fittings. Like I mentioned, they're pretty expensive, but if you did what I did and try to utilize as little elbows as possible, it's manageable. I will say a pack of 6 elbows is like $53. It's insane. So, do with that information what you will. If you want to do compression fittings, the world is yours, but I chose to do push to connect. No extra tools required. It's like putting Legos together, man. It's so beyond easy. And that's my system. Feel free to go back in the video and, slow it down if you got confused at any point, but really I think it's so beyond simple, and it's really, really effective too. Obviously I don't have it hooked up to a sink or a shower or anything quite yet, but I'll show you right now the flow for both the pump water from the tank and from city water. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is the water coming from my tank through my pump system. This is what I'm going to be using most of the time as I'm designing this rig to be as off-grid as possible, so really not trying to be parked at any water hookups for any extended period of time when I don't have to be. So this is basically going to be my main source of running water through the bus, so you can kind of get a feel for what I'll be experiencing most of the time. Now, it's a few days after filming the initial part of this video, and my sink has still not arrived, so I haven't installed it yet. So I'm just going to be running a PEX tube that's going to be going to my sink into this bucket for the tests. So might even be worth trying to see how quickly it fills up. I mean, it's a 3 gallon per minute pump. It doesn't have a regulator on it, so it's going to fill 3 gallons in a minute. So this thing should fill up within a couple minutes, no problem. So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys right here, looking down on the flowing water, or the water that will be flowing out of here, and I'll like split screen it and put my other camera to it. So don't try this at home. Dangerous to wire with live wire, but this is what I'm doing. So 3, 2.5, 2, 2.5. There we go. All right, so now it's pumping water from the tank. That's how loud it is. Let's go see what we're looking like in terms of flow. And that is the flow we have right there. So you can see it's already filled up quite a bit of the bucket just pretty much immediately. It's only been about 10-15 seconds since I plugged in the pump. So that's pretty decent water flow. I mean, you can't feel it or anything, but that's plenty for any faucet or shower head that I'm going to be needing. And obviously it's filling a 5 gallon bucket pretty handily. And noise wise, it's really not that bad, and it can be adjusted for sound by adjusting these feet so the vibrations are managed. But this is only going to be realistically on for, a few minutes at most. And there you have it. And just like that, in less than a minute, it filled over half this bucket right here. So, you know, that's pretty solid water pressure, I gotta say. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you city water pressure, and you'll notice a pretty drastic difference here. So I'm gonna go empty this bucket and we'll see where we're at. All right, so let me take you outside to the water fill and let me show you how I hook up my hose. So the hose itself just threads on like you're attaching anything to the end of a garden hose, just like this one. It's a bit on the high end, so I'm gonna have to carry a stool with me around or something. All right, so currently I'll show you what my issue is with getting it fully on there. It's not really an issue. I guess it is sometimes, but my issue with getting it fully on there right now is that I don't have anything holding the fittings in place in the inlet. So because it's all push to connect fittings, everything spins. So as I try to tighten it, the actual fittings twist with it. This should be tight enough to have no leaks, but that's something I'm gonna have to fix. All right, so first, before I show you the city water pressure and the city water bypass in the system, I'm gonna show you the tank fill. Mainly because I have to run all the way out to turn the hose on, and it's kind of a bit of a walk, and I wanna make sure that I'm not overfilling the bucket by having to run back. So I'm gonna show you the tank fill here. So you'll be able to hear how the tank is filling. If I set you close enough, right here, you'll be able to hear how the tank is filling right now. The way that the valve is tank fill, so it's just gonna shoot straight down through that valve, hit that elbow and go down to the tank fill in the bottom corner. And yeah, you should definitely be able to hear it because it fills pretty fast. For reference, the tank I would say is probably, I don't have a sensor or anything, but I'd say the tank is about 65% full right now, and that's the water level right there. We'll check it here in like a minute and see kind of how it has risen. I'm gonna go turn the hose on here and hope for no leaks. All right, so you should be able to hear that filling now. Pretty decent water pressure, and I only kind of sort of barely turned the spigot on, so it's definitely running. Sorry, I ran back. But you can see now the water's kind of being agitated and moving around because it's being filled. Keep it here for another minute and see kind of how the water level rises. But like I said, again, one, there's a kink in the hose right now. And two, it's not really on all the way. So actually I'm gonna go turn it on just a bit more and fix the kink and see if you can hear a louder fill noise. Yep, that's more like it. That's some good water pressure right there. Let's fill in the tank pretty handily. All right, now I'm gonna do the same thing, kind of split screen it for you. Here's the bucket. I'm gonna flip it with my other camera to bypass, and we'll see how we're looking. All right, so when I hit this valve, water's gonna stop filling, and it's gonna go straight through this bypass here and come out the bucket. Ready, set, go. And it's too hard. It's too hard. Yikes. Yikes. All right, but you see the water pressure here. Now I got to figure out how I can shut it off. Hold up. I'm gonna have to do some serious drying here. Oh, that's some water pressure. Oh, good Lord. All right, well, I'm gonna go try not to spray any more water. One sec. Oh gosh. Whoa, wait. Now I gotta turn off the hose. All right, well, that was quite the test there. Gonna have to be doing some serious drying here, that's for sure. All right, stand by. Fiasco there for a second. Pretty good water pressure, right? I had a feeling that would happen just because I didn't have the PEX secure and it's kind of on a weird, you know, angle, but I was like, well, maybe it'll work. It worked, but it definitely was some water, but that was unregulated hose water pressure. So, you know, if I have a pressure regulator, which I probably will have to put on there if I'm going to be using city water pressure, because if I have like, you know, like my sink or my shower hose or, you know, whatever it is, there's going to be a certain water pressure that it's rated for, and I don't want to go over that, obviously, because, well, I actually don't know why, but I know I wouldn't want to surpass the water level rating, water pressure rating. So I'll probably need to get an external pressure regulator. I haven't really looked into them, but you know, you can get them. I think they're like just little like screw-on brass fittings that you can set to a certain number that like closes it or opens it to regulate a water pressure down to a particular PSI. So, you know, that's probably going to be the move. But for the pump, at least, that's what I care about the most, the pump and the water fill speed. So we had the water filling from the hose for probably about a combined minute 30 seconds. And it went from about 60% full, I'd say, to probably closer to 80% full right there. Like that's, I mean, it's only a couple inches below the top line. Probably can't go much higher without leaking out of the vent here. I should actually probably check that to make sure nothing leaked out of there. So a couple more things that I need to note about what I'm going to be doing to finish the system. Obviously, first thing I'm going to be doing is managing my PEX. So obviously you can see, you know, it's kind of just strewn about, kind of more or less willy-nilly. So I have some PEX holders, like those, like not hose clamps, but like those little U-shaped brackets, like hose brackets. So I'm going to be basically securing it to anywhere that I can to make sure that the PEX isn't going anywhere. I need to figure out some kind of spray foam solution or something like that, expanding spray foam to fill in the gaps around the actual fitting within the plastic inlet. So I'll be doing that. That shouldn't be too bad. I have some other like, I don't know what they're called. I think they're called like bend assisters or something like that. Basically like little metal brackets to go around a bend of PVC, or not PVC, PEX. So I'll be doing a couple of those, mainly through the holes that I made, just to avoid like scuffing and stuff like that. Obviously, I will have to also install all of my fixtures and finish installing everything for my water heater, because I do want to test hot water, but for now I want to wait until I have my sink installed and get the mixers all right and everything, and also put a cap on that T that I have open so water doesn't spray out underneath in my cabinets. But once I have the water heater all hooked up and the sink installed, I'll go ahead and do like a little short test and put that out here on YouTube so you can see kind of just in short form how the sink is working. Should have that probably installed here within the next few days. I just have to wait for the sink to come. But for my faucet, I don't know if you guys like this style, but I'm a fan. It's like I think it's called semi-professional or something like that. It's like a semi-professional faucet. It's one of those like exposed water line faucets in black. Yeah, this is gonna be sweet. So, give you a little sneak preview of what it's gonna look like here. All right, so as you guys may know, if you watched my video on installing my countertops and my cabinets, this is where my sink is gonna go. So basically So basically faucet is gonna go hopefully centered on the sink right here, centered with the window as well. I think that's gonna be really nice. Obviously it's gonna be like, you know, down here. Obviously it's not gonna be up there. So I think it's gonna be pretty sleek. And then I got a 27-inch sink, just like a regular like black stainless steel sink, but it's 27 inches. So it's basically gonna go the entire, you know, size of this cabinet, which will be super nice. May not be able to get it totally center on this window, but if not, it's whatever, don't matter. I just wanted to be able to have a window open under my sink so that I, you know, if I needed to twist the faucet out and like spray something out the window, I could. Don't really know how often I'll be doing that, but something I wanted to be able to do if I needed to. And then sometime somewhat far in the future, but probably not too long, I'll start building out my bathroom. So the shower, figuring out the washer dryer unit situation, installing, you know, washer dryer boxes and whatever other washing machine boxes, and then running the plumbing to there. And then, you know, probably before we know it, the whole plumbing situation, draining it into the gray tank and everything is going to be solved and finished, which is pretty crazy. This thing's getting to be pretty darn close to somewhat livable, I would say. I obviously have the electrical all figured out, so the electrical's done. Plumbing is like 75% of the way there. Just need my fixtures. And then the only other thing I really need to do is make sure I can cook, store food, and heat and cool the bus. Mostly cool right now because it's pretty hot. So I'll be installing a mini split at some point in the future as well. Be getting a fridge, wiring that in, getting my oven and stove, putting that thing right here, getting a propane source, doing all those lines. It's really coming down to it. There's a lot more to do, obviously, but it's kind of coming together pretty darn quick. I mean, even just 2 weeks ago, I had nothing right here where my kitchen counter is. So, you know, just to see this in here and done within that short of time frame is pretty sweet. So it makes me confident that I can, you know, get stuff going at a reasonable clip to be able to start moving into it and living out of it as I finish it. So that's the goal. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little short video going over my plumbing. If you have any questions about what I did or why I did things that I didn't cover in the video, feel free to put them in the comments and I'll answer them as much as I can. Obviously, like I said before in this video, I don't have any plumbing experience. I'm not a plumber, never done anything with any kind of pipes other than PVC to a small degree. So this is the first time using any of these push connect fittings, working with PEX, working with water pumps, accumulator tanks, you know, the whole thing is my first time. So don't necessarily take this as an expert guide to how to do things, but obviously you just saw the entire system works as intended, though I don't have my fixtures set up. So if you want to copy this or duplicate this in some fashion, hopefully you feel somewhat confident that you can at least try to tackle this yourself. You know, is it perfect? Maybe not. Is it absolutely functional and super easy to do? 100%. I'll also be putting like sensors and everything to monitor water levels, and I'll be putting a heat pad underneath that that water tank inside, as well as the water tank underneath my bus to keep the water from freezing, as that is in the back of the bus and probably is not going to be very well insulated in terms of how the rest of my bus is insulated. So I'll probably have to put a heat pad there just to make sure the water doesn't freeze when it goes below freezing. But that's really about it. That and the sensors to make sure that I can track my water levels. Also, one thing I didn't mention is my switch, kind of on-off switch for the pump. Obviously you saw me just remove a wire and put a wire in and take it out again to turn on my pump, and that's definitely not a permanent solution. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be wiring a switch, just a regular little 12-volt switch, into that pump so I can turn it on and off, and I'm going to be mounting it somewhere around here, potentially under my sink, potentially right by my sink, potentially on this wall. Not entirely sure quite yet where I want to put it. I'll have to kind of wait until I get my sink in there and feel kind of what makes sense in terms of where the switch is, but that's going to make it really easy to switch water on and off via the pump, so I don't have to constantly have the pump running. Definitely don't want that. And if I need to, you know, obviously take a shower or do laundry, I can just come out here, flip the, you know, pump on, and then just run to the back and take a shower or run a little laundry or do whatever I need to do. But this is going to be where most of the water is probably being used, at least frequency wise. So this is where I want the switch. I thought about doing like a multi-switch deal and putting a switch in the bathroom as well, but that seems not necessarily worth the effort at this point. So I'll just be putting a switch somewhere right here. I'm thinking actually probably right here on the wall, so I can just, you know, when I'm here at the sink, I can just pump, do my stuff, pump off, easy peasy. So that's one more thing I did not mention. Other than that, that's basically the plumbing. So make sure to subscribe if you like this kind of thing and you want to keep up with my progress on the bus. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm doing the entire build series here on this channel. I'm going from getting the bus here and ripping out seats to eventually sometime down the road finishing it and getting to living it full time. So it's a pretty fun and exciting process, and if you want to keep up with it, feel free to subscribe here. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram somewhat. Don't really like Instagram, but it's neither here nor there, so make sure to follow along on those as well. Stay tuned for the next one. I'm going to be doing something in the bus, so it's going to be something fun and exciting, so I'll see you in that one.